Hey everyone, this is Mike Vasquez with 3Degrees, and I'm welcoming you to kind of the first of a little mini series that we're doing on additive manufacturing quality control. And the reason I'm doing this is because over the last 3 years, I've had the good fortune of talking to over 100 different users of 3D printing technology, really focused on production, and have started to really identify a few patterns that can come up constantly in the conversations that we're having related to moving 3D printing into a production landscape. So I want to talk about kind of the first of that series today with a focus near and dear to my heart, which is data challenges. So when we think about 3D printing, there's a handful of things that kind of are apparent immediately if you're an user of the technology. And it's that you have a lot of variables, but not necessarily a consistent framework. So regardless of whether you're using metals, polymers, composites, a combination of all of those, each process, each machine has its own unique workflow. Usually it's designed over kind of a series of steps with kind of some CAD to kind of print software step where you have design influences, you have material feedstock, you have the machine element of it, which is building your parts, but also has sensors on boards and settings that you kind of delineate when you're going through the process of building a component. And then you get into post-processing and inspection that adds another level of kind of data on top of all of this information. And any one of those steps and sub-steps have variability that can impact the end result that goes to the customer. So when we think about that, what we've seen in conversations with our kind of contacts and customers is that kind of that lack of kind of a consistent framework is really challenging to even start to put all of this information together in one place. And that moves into kind of the next kind of challenge on top of that is that most organizations, even if they're able to document all the different variability and pieces of the AM workflow, having a centralized repository that can quickly capture that information in a consistent way and a meaningful way that allows them to look back and forward at their process is not super tangible at the moment. So I like to joke that Microsoft Excel is the most heavily used 3D printing software on the market. And in reality, on practice, that's really the case. Whether it's a large company or a small company, we've seen that as kind of the building block to managing technical data and technical work packages for 3D printed parts, and mainly to document some of those things that we just mentioned, material info and vendors and part properties and machine settings and whatnot. It becomes kind of the go-to source because it's easy to set up and you can start to organize it a little bit. But at the end of the day, what becomes apparent for many of these users is that they don't have the analysis capabilities to kind of look forward and back and even get data into kind of the database from external islands of data, whether that's the machine and the sensors that are reading during the part build, or even kind of post-processing inspection steps where you're getting data on witness coupons or tensile data and things like that. So trying to combine all that in one place is quite challenging. And the third piece that we've seen as a big challenge for users is the ability to kind of transfer the information that they've collected out of a small subset of individuals in any meaningful way. So if any of you have operated equipment or been in that setting where you're working on a day-to-day basis with AM equipment, it becomes very easy to lose the messaging of what's going on the factory floor. For like the moment you go on people kind of touching the machine on a day in and day out basis, you start to lose some semblance of the story because it's complicated. Depending on, it could be things like what's the blend ratio of that day, or what particle size distribution are you going for, what were some of the settings that we had to change because of a machine calibration issue, and kind of how does the yesterday's tensile bars look to in comparison to a week ago, and trying to keep up with that is challenging in both small and large organizations, just because there's a lot of information there. And so that was another really big factor that comes up consistently in these conversations around quality control for additive manufacturing parts. And so we're going to continue this discussion over the coming days and weeks. If you want to continue to follow us, it's 3Degrees Additive Manufacturing on YouTube. And we look forward to sharing some of what we've learned over the last few years. And if you have any questions or comments, just add it in the boxes below, and we'll continue the discussion. Thank you very much.